No my, hi to my. Here we are. Welcome to Trending on a Friday morning. Been doing this for over a year, but it feels like the first day, Josh.
It really does.
Wait, you're over here now, aren't you? Wait a sec. There we go. Right microphone. Now you can talk. Go.
That's okay because this is the pre-show, so we're not yet officially...
We're not officially official yet.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the pre-show of Trending. This is the live stream, of course, because this show is not only broadcast through Rima, but also here on Facebook and on YouTube. Let others know, by the way, the stream can be found live, rima.co.nz, and thanks for joining us in our new slot.
I know. Crazy, man. So just got to say, I might make mention of this during the actual show as well, but just massive thank you from me to you for starting your day early.
Oh,
for
mate.
something like this, because, I mean, usually if you're a fan of Life FM, you'll know Josh from the Arvo Bravo, but he's also my right-hand man with this, would not be here without him, and it asks a lot to come in early on a Friday, but here you are, like the absolute godsend.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and I think the reason it's not such a big deal to me is because it's also nice to be back on the Rima Breakfast Show, sort of.
Yeah, right.
And having done a large stint where I've got up at the time that you typically get up, getting up at like a 7 o'clock, that's not early.
No, that's true.
That's not early.
That's true. Is there sunlight when you get up?
It was just starting to creep in, yeah.
Yeah.
It was certainly not pitch black.
You know the number of times I've found myself halfway driven to work and realised I haven't turned my headlights on?
No!
So bad. So, I
Oh.
mean, I think it is reflective of driving through a part of town that has a lot of streetlights.
Yes, you're in the heart of the city.
Yeah, so it's not quite so jarring, but every now and then, I actually had a moment today. I don't know what had happened on Simon Street as I drove towards the studio. For those who know Auckland City, this will make sense to you. Everybody else, just smile and nod. There were like 3 cop cars and a paddy wagon.
Whoa.
And I had to drive past them, and I had this moment of, are my headlights on? Because getting pulled over on the way to work is not a good option when, you know, you go live from 6 a.m. Anyway, all to say, crisis averted, all is well, and here we are.
I mean, that would make interesting content, you calling in from the back of the paddy wagon.
True.
Your one phone call.
I wonder if they'll let you do that.
to
Can you phone somebody from the back of a paddy wagon? I imagine you can. It's not like the US, is it? Where like, you know, have to get your one phone call constitutionally or something like that.
Who knows? Who knows?
No, man.
This is the type of stuff, though. Welcome to Trending. If you're joining us for the first time, which is potentially likely because the slot has changed. Typically, we were on a Wednesday, moved now to Friday. We've got a bit of an upgrade, a promotion, shall we say, looking back at the week that was in terms of the trending stories that were capturing your attention.
Yeah, so the idea is that we all know what it's like to watch the news, say at 6 o'clock, or maybe go to your major news services and see the stories that they're leading with. What fascinates me, though, is to know whether or not those stories actually resonate with the kind of thing that people are interested in. Everyday Kiwis, not necessarily with the same views and opinions as yours, so maybe it'll show you things about your fellow man that you didn't know, or it might even just reveal some of the differences between what our news services think is important versus what we think is important. And because we live in the age of the algorithm, we can look at all this stuff. We can find out what people have been searching for, what news stories are doing the best or doing the worst on our major news providers, major news websites in New Zealand and around the world. So that's the idea. We'll recap this, of course, with the rest of our Rima audience after 9 o'clock on the radio. But as Josh has mentioned too, you'll see either being on Facebook or on YouTube right now, there's a chat section that we're able to keep an eye on as we go throughout the day. So you're always welcome to send through your thoughts on things, and we'd just love to know what your take is. Is there a story you think is missing, or maybe a particular perspective on a news story that you think we should address? Either way, share it with us today.
Yep, get in touch. The comment section is, of course, either below or to the side, or, of course, you can text 8168 with the keyword Rima. I'm noticing that there is a distinct difference in the look of Trending as opposed to its well, the only difference is, but it seems to be striking, at least for me,
Yeah.
it's the amount of light pouring in from that window behind you.
Of course. Do I have a halo?
You do. It's quite a nice, little diffused light.
I am the
No
I am,
need for a ring light for you.
I'm the angel of the Lord's messengers today.
Whoa.
Is that overstating things?
Look,
Maybe.
who knows how God will use what may be shared on Trending today.
Amen. Exactly right. What do I have a look through here? Man, one thing that I think I'll remark on with everybody else as well. But is there something to be said for like dead people being the latest hot thing in news?
Yeah.
It seems to, I mean, I'm sure people have always been passing away, so this is nothing new, but there just seems to be this big surge of famous people who are dead.
I wonder, is it due to the fact that maybe there is more prevalence of fake news about the death of celebrities?
Oh, right.
And so we feel the need to confirm it
Right.
before we accept that that moment has happened.
You know, you could be onto something. That could be it. I don't know. I realised too, because I've shuffled things around a little bit, we've got a little bit more time than I expected because we're doing the news right now. And then we've got to do some other, ad spots and things like that before we get into our show. So we don't actually start until like about 7 minutes after 9.
Oh, we've got a good chunk of time.
We've got so much time. So what's going on in your world? Say hello. Say hello. If you've made the journey from Wednesday afternoon to Friday.
Yes.
Massive thank you to those of you who sent us through a message on our last Wednesday show last week to tell us you were going to be joining us on this Friday morning. So just say hello. Say, I don't know, what should we just say hi?
So you could say Friday. Oh, no, we did that last time.
Say Wednesday. There you go. Say Wednesday if you're here from last week.
That's true. Yeah. Let us know if you're part of the Wednesday crew.
I like that.
That has moved over, the OGs, as it were.
The OGs. Oh, that's fun. All right, let's see what we've got here. There's our faces. Look at that. Oh, this is a good time. Mate, this is so weird. This feels so weird, doesn't it? Anyway.
We've talked about this before we began the stream here, that there's a sense of newness, but we've also done this, as you said, for over a year.
Yeah.
We know exactly what we're about to do. It's
Yeah.
not going to be uncharted territory, but it still feels like there's a bit of that air of anticipation and, the breaking of a seal maybe as we sort of get into the first moments on a Friday.
I'm also aware too, for those who have maybe just discovered us now for the first time, how much of a recap of what the show's about we have to dive into. Because after a year or so, I remember when we first started doing the show, we'd go into a bit more of a detailed explainer. But now we've got this combination of the old heads and the newbies. So maybe if you have been following along for a while, you can show the new kids how it's done, how easy it is just to kind of chime in and let us know your thoughts on different stuff.
Yeah. Because, of course, this is the point of the show as well, is, we want your engagement. We want your thoughts. We did get a comment from Aki saying, hopefully no tsunami alerts on air
Oh, my
today.
gosh. How true is that? Well, just quietly, there might be something in the headlines about that.
I bet there will be.
If only we
Yes,
were the
of
ones
course,
who planned the
because
show.
I was awoken to said alert, but
Yeah.
you would have been literally on air at that time.
Ironically enough, we were doing the headlines at 6:30 when the alarm went through on Kat's phone, and then about 10 seconds later came through on mine.
What does that mean, though? Were you less of a priority to alert this information?
Sexism. That's what it is. Unbelievable.
Women and children first.
Well, that's true. See, there are some benefits to tradition. We're not too far away from going live with the rest of the country too. So just, again, massive thanks to everybody. I kind of feel like I need to do a deep breath, just like...
Yep. Take your time.
Take my time. Just relax. Get comfy. All that kind of stuff. Do feel free to throw your thoughts and comments in the chat as we go along as well today. But couldn't do this without you. Wouldn't want to do this without you. When we come back again, we're going to have the rest of the Rima audience with us. But thanks for joining us on the live stream. Going live with the rest of the country in about 10 seconds. Here we go.
Live on air and online. Trending with Andrew Curtis.
No mai, hi to mai. Welcome, Rima Whānau, to Trending. For those of you who have joined us from our regular slot on Wednesdays between 12 and 1, it's great to have you with us. And for those for the first time, wondering what is going on and what is this show all about, allow me to explain what's going on here today. I am a news and current affairs tragic. I love staying up to date with what's happening around the world, but something that I started to notice was that often there's a difference between the stories that lead our nightly news or might even be the front runners on our major news services, major news websites, and then the stories that everyday people are interested in. Now, fortunately, we live in the age of the algorithm. We're able to find out what stories people are clicking on, what stories or what names people are searching for. And so this show is an opportunity to look into just that. Find out the news that Aotearoa has been searching for, quite literally on Google, or maybe been clicking on the most, both in New Zealand and around the world. That's the premise for the show. It might give you a bit of an understanding of what your common man is into. Maybe the things you have in common, the things that you do not share with those people. And thankfully, I don't have to do this alone. Joining me, as always, producer Josh Beatty. Welcome to 9 o'clock on a Friday.
Hey, good to be back, as it were. It's not that unfamiliar, having been a part of the Rima Breakfast show before, but it's good to bring trending to a new slot, a bit of a promotion for us, and a quick reminder as you're listening, 8168 with the keyword Rima to get in touch via the text about any of the stories that we're going to cover. Or, of course, if you are watching the stream, which is a big element of the show, we are live streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. You can find both the links at rima.co.nz. Leave a comment below, and Simon says, great content on Rima Media.
Love it. Thank you, Simon. Yes, I can't believe I almost didn't mention that. That's the other big thing about this show. If you've ever wanted to see what goes on behind the scenes, well, this is kind of your chance to do it. The idea behind the show was not just to be able to talk about news stories, but to be able to talk with you in a new and exciting way made possible by modern media. So not only can you listen, and for those who are dialed in via the wireless, then we're grateful to have your company, but you can watch the show with us as well. You can watch us. Hello to everybody this morning who is either on YouTube or on Facebook Live. So as Josh has mentioned, head along to rima.co.nz and you can click through to either our Facebook or YouTube channels and watch the show. Join us, and then, as Josh has said, say something in the chat. Say hello this morning.
Yes, simply leave a comment of where you are at this point or what you expect may be popping up in the trending stories from the week that was. Whatever you'd like to say, we'd love to know first and foremost you're there. And then as we go through, any thoughts, any opinions you have, if you agree or disagree with Andrew or myself, you are welcome to leave a comment below or get in touch, 8168 with the keyword Rima.
So with all that said, welcome to Trending. Great to be here with you in our new time slot. This is our new home. And so why don't we take a look at the story that was number 25 in Google this week.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Why start with number 25, you might ask? Well, because it's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, one that I have some personal experience of. Number 25 was Rosedale Bakery.
The Pie Awards.
Or one of the Pie Awards.
Yeah, one of the many Pie Awards. This was also trending on Stuff at a particular time this week, and then it was overtaken by some other stories we're about to talk about, shall we say. But why was Rosedale Bakery named number one in terms of the Pie Awards?
So they have come out with a French-inspired pie. This is a potato top pie, which I'll have to say, right off the bat, risky. Risky going, I feel like a potato top pie, a polarizing kind of pie.
I'm not a usual potato top fan, to be honest.
If it wasn't for the fact that this was apparently the best pie in the country, at least according to this version of these pie awards. As a side note, have we ever done a tally on how many other pie awards there are?
There must be so many, because me and my co-host on the Arvo Bravo did muse. Why does it feel like there is a new best pie in New Zealand every other week?
Yeah.
We love pies.
Oh, big fans. Huge fans of the pies. But nevertheless, a potato top pie being your number one. Before we talk more about it, let's see how the New Zealand Herald decided to cover this one. And talking to the owners of the Rosedale Bakery and Cafe, who now are purveyors of the finest pie in New Zealand.
Before we get into this little snippet, shall we say, I would say, on behalf of the owners of the Rosedale Bakery, they're obviously not media trained.
Oh dear. Let's see how they went when speaking to the New Zealand Herald.
So we had the Pie Awards last night, just gone 10 to 8. Pie Awards last night, and we have a new Supreme winner. Our reporter Katie Oliver is at the winning Rosedale Bakery now. Katie, what is it?
Good morning, Ryan. Yes, I am here with the winning 2025 pie, and I'm here with the owner of the Rosedale Bakery and Cafe, Sam So. Sam, tell us about this pie. What's your secret?
The secret about the pie, the secret, I think, we use that everything that the good quality one.
Good quality, yep.
Yes, like a mince.
Mince, good quality mince.
Yes, and then bottom pies be good. Like the flour is a good quality flour.
High quality flour, yep.
Potato top.
In his defense, why did they not put a microphone on him?
That's also a great question. What is going on?
Why can't we hear this guy?
This is the New Zealand Herald.
Unbelievable. Anyway, let's go back to this poor man suffering in front of the camera for our benefit.
And then everything, the quality one.
Should we show our viewers?
Yes.
Let's just show them a cross section of this majestic pie. I've been getting hungrier and hungrier, Ryan. This pie looks outstanding. Now, Sam, this isn't your first rodeo though, is it? You've won before. You won the best sausage roll
Yeah.
in 2023?
Yeah, 2023. And then about the secret of the potato top, I think that the middle one is the secret.
The potato gratin, that's the
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
How do you make the potato gratin? Is that separately?
Yes.
So guys,
You can see the flaky. Flaky.
there's a layered French potato gratin in the middle, and I think that's the secret to their win. Do you reckon,
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
I kind of want to take a taste. Ryan, what do you reckon?
Can I just say, we are often very prepared to call out journalists when they're not doing a great job. But this lady in particular, I'm sorry that off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you her name. She is doing everything she can to carry this thing. And I think she's doing an incredible job. Can we just give her a round of applause? This poor guy she's been forced to talk to, she's kind of filling in the blanks, leading him along, like illustrating the points that he's trying to make. So again, I think she's done an incredible job trying to drag the details out of somebody who they clearly have not mic'd up properly.
It's a bit ridiculous. And of course, there's just the bakery trying to be the bakery in the background going, look, we've still got pies to sell.
Yeah.
Come on through. Who cares about all the cameras everywhere? But here, look, a very attractive pie you will have only seen. So if you were watching on the stream, which you can find at rema.co.nz, click on either the Facebook or YouTube links. But you yourself have sampled said pie.
I have indeed. And let me just say, it's fine. It's fine.
Whoa.
Look, here's the thing. We discussed this earlier.
Yeah.
Neither of us massive potato top fans.
This is true.
I think if you are a potato top fan, then he's done more with a potato top pie than you normally see. There is the gratin in the middle. Gratin? I don't know. I feel like it should be said with a French accent if it's a gratin. Nevertheless.
I don't think either of us just did French access, but that's okay.
That's fine. So I get what they were going for. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just doesn't. It was fine. It was good. Would I order it again? No, which is really the ultimate test. Would you order it again?
Would
No.
you go for a potato top pie? Look, by the way, we are talking about this because
Yeah.
it was number 25 trending in terms of the popular searches on Google over the week that was here in New Zealand. We all love a good pie. Do you love a potato top pie? Do let us know, 8168 with the keyword Rema, or leave a comment below. I would say earlier Christy did comment looking and sounded good, boys, reminiscent of old times on the breakfast show together.
Oh,
That's an OG fan right there.
That's right. So there you have it, your number 25 story. People looking for Rosedale Bakery. Admittedly, it may be a little bit higher since we'd first checked these terms because, when word gets out about a good pie,
It goes viral.
It goes viral indeed. Would it be the potato top pie for you, though? Or maybe they talked about their famous sausage roll. Sausage roll or potato top pie?
Can I go mince and cheese? Can I just go a typical mince and cheese instead?
I think so.
Good.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Let's continue to march through the headlines then over the last week. If you've just joined us, welcome. This is Trending. We're looking at the news stories that Aotearoa was searching for, be that via Google or on our major news services. And number 18 this week, somebody whose music we don't play a lot of on Rema.
Have we ever played any of his music here on Rema?
Can I be honest with you? I was so tempted to do it. But even I know there are some boundaries that
Should not be crossed.
might get in trouble with. Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes.
Ozzy Osbourne coming in at number 18 in the country, and more particularly his funeral. Passing away, of course, at the age of 76, which, by the way, it might be a bit of a stretch to use this term in regards to Ozzy Osbourne, but it's a miracle that man got to 76 years old. Even by his own admission, he lived a rather hard life, shall we say.
Now, Ozzy Osbourne and his passing was in the trending stories last episode, shall we say. Of course, when we were on Wednesdays, this is the first edition on a Friday, but still is dominating. And yes, appears here at number 18, Ozzy Osbourne funeral. So a lot of people interested in what happened.
So I don't know if his funeral was held in Australia or not, because people are saying that during the hearse arrival, people were screaming, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Which, can you just take a moment to think how bizarre it would be at your funeral if you had a crowd of people out there shouting, Josh, 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 Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my
Andrew,
gosh.
Andrew. See, they'd shorten it to Andy, which I'd already be upset about. If anything was going to bring me back from the dead, it would be somebody calling me Andy.
Andy, he was pretty dandy.
What would they cheer at your funeral? Text that one through. No, we're not going to do that this morning. Let's take a look, though, at something that's a little bizarre. And for this, I would encourage you to join us on the live stream if you haven't already. First up, just go to the Rima website.
Rima.co.nz, or of course you can get in touch via the text, but you need to see this to be a part of the stream. So that is at the website, and of course click on either the Facebook or YouTube link.
We will provide a bit of a running commentary, though, for you. This is courtesy of the news coverage that's come out for the Ozzy Osbourne funeral. We have Sharon Osbourne crying as she gets out of a vehicle. This is so weird. Isn't there something so strange about our culture that we want to broadcast somebody grieving the death of their, well, in her case, ex-husband? I think they had actually split up by the time of his passing. Big bouquets of flowers, of course, laid out, but this looks like it's being held in the middle of a street.
Well, it was. In fact, it was held in Birmingham, in the English city itself, on Broad Street, known as the home of, I believe, kind of metal music, as it were. And so it was a bit of a strange sight. A lot of people wanting to honour, remember Ozzy, and the atmosphere was much more one of a parade than a funeral.
It's so weird, though, isn't it? Like, I can kind of understand on the one hand, if you're a fan of metal music, you followed Ozzy Osbourne for a while, you can hear some of the shouts from the crowd. I mean, again, you're at a funeral shouting out to the widow. What are you hoping is going to happen? She's going to turn around and be like, woo, yeah.
Well, here you can hear the... Not so much the Ozzy, oi, 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 which also did happen. But yes, again, just the atmosphere is a little bit strange.
So odd. I mean, the whole thing is rather odd, but nevertheless, I mean, I guess that was Ozzy Osbourne as well, really, wasn't it?
Well, let's maybe think about it like this. We're talking about the passing of somebody, the end of their life, and we often even talk about in Christian circles that we hope that when our funeral arrives, it can be a celebration because we actually have the hope and the understanding of the fact that it is not the end.
That's
that,
a great
we get
point,
to
man.
be with Jesus in heaven, and it will still be a sad occasion. There will still be mourning, and it kind of does feel like it shouldn't be maybe a actual party with, hootin' and hollering, but maybe there is an element of that does.
Do you have a distinctive country western flavour to your family? People pulling out their six shooters and be like, Josh is gone. Bam. So nevertheless, Ozzy Osbourne coming at number 18, or rather his funeral, the 18th most searched for term in New Zealand over the last week.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
And it's an appropriate point, I think, to reflect now on this emerging trend we've seen from the news, and that is that the number of times a celebrity passing has featured in our search terms in the last week or two. Am I wrong to say that this has really spiked in the last month or so?
We have seen this as a reoccurring theme over the last couple of weeks for sure. Before we move on, though, to the next person who passed and made their way into our trending news stories, I would say that Daniel is on the live stream. Hi, Daniel.
G'day,
Thanks
Daniel.
for watching. Says, kia ora, Josh and Andrew. He also says, good thing Ozzy accepted Jesus. I don't know if that is true or not.
Oh, did he? I mean, I would hope so.
I would indeed as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? There may or may not be another story along these lines a little bit later on today. Not specifically, well, I'm getting ahead of myself this morning. Would just love to know hear your thoughts on these stories as we bring them to you. So again, Daniel, great to hear from you. If you do want to chime in, a couple of ways you can do that today.
8168 with the keyword Rima. That's, of course, the traditional way. If you're listening via your radio, you can text. Or, of course, if you want to watch the live stream, watch Trending. That's right. This is not just a radio show. It's also live streamed. Head to rima.co.nz. Click on either the YouTube or Facebook links. And if you're watching, leave a comment below.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
So let's march forward a few more spots in the trending news, and we're up to number 11. Now, as a side note, you might wonder why do we jump from number 18 to number 11. There is one word that explains that very aptly, and that word is
Sports.
amen. How's that for a trust exercise? I just knew you'd know. I just knew you would know. If
It may feel like this is the first episode of Trending. You might be like going, oh, this is new because this is a new experience for you. We've been doing Trending for about a year now on a Wednesday, now bringing it to Friday. So there is a little bit of history here. Also, by the way, Geraldine says, you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching, Geraldine.
Geraldine, you're amazing. We love you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we would have a very different show if we just went dogmatically down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it would be maybe 1 or 2 non-sport related stories, and then what? Something to do with the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Something to do with football.
The Warriors.
The Warriors. Actually, F1 turns up pretty regularly.
Yes, quite a bit.
Yep.
We would have to practice our sports commentary analysis. It would have to be a little bit more.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to think to do sports. Have I not told you the trick to doing sports?
Oh, we did
broadcasting?
talk about this a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you literally pick a sport, pick an opinion, flip a coin, and then just go with it. The All Blacks played over the weekend, and they flip a coin, heads, played badly, and just double down. That's all you need to know to talk about sport, which is very different, though, from where we are today, looking at number 11 in our search terms in the week. So these are the 11th most searched for, this is rather the 11th most searched for term or name in this case. This one a little bit closer to home as well, Michael Hill.
Michael Hill Jewelers.
That's right. Well, Michael Hill, jeweler. That was the. Do you remember those ads? Is that a little bit too early for you?
No, I vaguely remember them, but I also saw recently that he did do an interview before his passing for the spin-off, and he himself said, I always like to introduce myself by saying, Michael Hill. Michael Hill, jeweler.
Yeah, those were the ads that made him famous. So it wasn't just the jewelry. It was a sense of marketing nous, I suppose, that made Michael such a big part of our lives. And I suppose, again, for those of you who are, shall we say 30 plus? Is that a safe enough age range? You will be familiar with Michael Hill. And so passing away at the age of 86, I was shocked to discover he was 86 because I actually saw him in the flesh, as it were, less than a year ago. And remarkably sprightly looking guy and a very creative guy too. If you've only ever seen him in, say, the TV ads, you'll be used to him wearing more, dark suits and things like that. But when I saw him, he was at an event for the opening of a Michael Hill store in Queenstown wearing a camo style suit jacket.
Okay.
Which, I mean, just for me to explain it to you, it sounds ridiculous.
Are you sure you saw him?
Well played. Comment of the day.
He wasn't just a floating head.
That's right. And then he also had these glasses that were, I don't want to sound like I'm being derogative here, but they were almost like Elton John level of flamboyance.
They were
yes.
These flamboyant is the word.
Remarkably flamboyant glasses, this camo style, like camo print suit jacket, and yet there he was opening the store, very sprightly, very energetic, and very much a big part of many Kiwis' lives. Could explain why he was number 11 in the search terms this week.
Yeah, again, we also asked the question, off here or before we started the show officially, because of course you can always be a part of the pre-show. What is this trend of people going to Google when somebody passes and wanting to know more about them? I did ponder if it was whether or not this is accurate news, because maybe in this day and age, the passing of a celebrity could be questionable if you find it on a non-reputable news source or on social media. You actually go, well, hold on. Let me double check.
Is this real? So, I'd be so concerned if my name started to turn up in the search terms at the moment. I'd be like, am I dead?
Yeah. What happened to me?
What happened to me? Am I okay? Maybe Google can tell me. And one of the more bizarre takes on all of this, after somebody like Michael Hill passes away, our media are obviously looking to get different perspectives from New Zealanders or just other people who've interacted with him. So Miranda Kerr, supermodel, shared her thoughts, which you can find on stuff.co.nz. But, the New Zealand Herald decided to go with a slightly stranger way of addressing this as far as I'm concerned. So let's head back to Ryan Bridge and see what you think about this coverage of the passing of Michael Hill and the way they decided to introduce a longtime friend of his.
He is broadcaster and captain of the high seas, Paul Henry, who's anchored up next to Sir Michael's boat, the Beast, which is somewhere within Kui, I'm told. But in fact, I think I can just see it over your shoulder this morning, Paul. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ryan. Unfortunately, as is the nature with boats, we are swinging around. So at some point, it will be over my shoulder, and at other points, it will be out of sight.
You two bonded over boating. What was it that brought you together?
You know, I have known Michael for many, 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 many years. When he won Entrepreneur of the Year, but even prior to that, just obviously interviewing him, and we struck up a real friendship. And then through our mutual love of boating, we got even closer. I was shocked. I mean, I knew he was desperately unwell, but we were emailing up until really a week ago. And here I am anchored right next to the beast, and I was hoping that he would be able to come up here and, as we did last time, you know, have a meal together on board, that sort of thing. You know, he was a lovely man. Now, people say that, and I've gone quiet on some people I know when they've passed away because they weren't lovely. Michael was a truly lovely man. Here's the thing that for me, he stood out because he was probably the smartest man in any room you were in, but he never seemed like the smartest man. He did something that most people don't do, and that was really listen. And if Michael said to you, "What do you think of something?" he actually wanted to know what you thought of it. And if you just briefly said, "Oh, yeah, no, that's all right." Well, what do you mean that's all right? What do you actually think? And he would really listen to the answer. I think that was his true golden touch. No matter who you were, he would study what you were saying and learn from it.
What a cool testimony to be said about somebody's life. Admittedly, strange circumstances to come to you live from your boat in Fiji, as you do. But what a cool I mean, imagine people being able to say that about you. What a genuinely lovely testament to a guy who has won Entrepreneur of the Year, built an incredible business, but clearly, too, there was something about him that left a lasting impression.
Yeah, and of course, we will know Michael Hill mostly if we have no personal connection to him for simply jewellery, and that could also be attached to opulence and, you know, the rich. And it is nice to hear a genuine story shared about the character of this man after he has passed. And yeah, I hope, you know, something similar could be shared about myself. I'm sure you probably feel the same, Andrew.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Another name, though, as we leap all the way to number 8, about somebody who has not passed away. I feel it's important to point these things out at this point. But from Air New Zealand, number 8 in the country, people searching for who this individual is, Nikhil Ravishankar.
Now, by the way, before we get into this story about Air New Zealand, you can leave a comment below if you are watching the stream, and Carl has done exactly that. I think he probably enjoyed the camo quip because he says you guys are so sharp and clever. But of course, if you're listening, you are welcome to also get in touch by texting 8168 with the keyword REMA if you want to find the live stream a key difference of trending to maybe your typical radio show. It is actually radio with pictures. Head to rema.co.nz and click on either the YouTube or Facebook link.
Yeah, join us, have a look at the studio, and share your thoughts on these stories as they start to emerge. But Air New Zealand has a brand new CEO, hence people searching for who is this guy? What's going on? What's he going to do to our favourite airline and overcome the challenges and such? Maybe the previous guy, Greg Foran, is planning on becoming Prime Minister. That tends to be the flow of these things right now.
You know what I'm also about to note?
What's that?
We've had a lot of features from Ryan, I forget his last name. Ryan Bridge on the show today, and we're once again going to hear from him.
All right, our unofficial co-host. Thanks, Ryan. Let's see how they broke the news of the brand new CEO and the person who became the number 8 most searched for person or most searched for term in the country, Nikhil Ravishankar, the new CEO of Air New Zealand.
Time to talk business, 2 degrees. There is breaking news out this morning. This is about Air New Zealand. Garth, good morning.
What happened to the BD energy?
You're still bringing it. Just, I'm not sure if I'm feeling it.
Right, well, let me tell you, they're feeling it over at Air New Zealand. They've just dropped an announcement on the NZX that Greg Foran, who you had in this very chair earlier this week, will be replaced by Nikhil Ravishankar, who is the company's Chief Technology Officer or Chief Digital Officer. This is the IT guys taking over. I mean, the pattern we've seen in New Zealand companies is that the Chief Financial Officer moves into the top chair if it's vacated, if you're doing an internal, or that you get somebody in from elsewhere.
I'm sorry, but vacated I can't let slide. Vacated?
Vacated?
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Dame Therese Walsh is on there saying, hey, look, we did an extensive search. We've been bold, we're adapting, and he brings the mindset mindset and contemporary leadership we need.
I've interviewed him a couple of times over the years and always found him very impressive and very well prepared and also quite forward-looking.
Yeah.
So I can see why
they just think to deal with OpenAI, didn't they? Sort of to create a ChatGPT style range of products within the company to sort of move that part of it forward. So I guess that's an interesting pick from that point of view. I guess another point I'd make is if you look at the NZX top 50 and you look at the photos of the people that run those companies, they tend to look a lot like, older white guys. So this is that's a shift as well. We're scratching our heads actually to look back at a period and try and find a CEO of a NZX 50 company that hasn't fit that bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about the fact that they've decided to go internal and not external and not, someone from abroad?
Hard to tell. I mean, it's without knowing who else was in the running, to be honest. But I guess, the airline's been through a huge amount of change in the last few years trying to get out of that COVID funk, the same COVID funk we were talking about earlier that affects our ports. And so perhaps someone that's got a real understanding of the organisation, well liked, I think I can say that from talking to a few people that work at Air New Zealand previously. So perhaps that's what's swung the balance in the end.
Yeah, interesting. Garth, thank you. Good to see you. As always, Garth Bray, Business Desk, thanks to our partners 2 Degrees.
So there you have it. Nikhil Ravishankar, the new CEO. Here's a real question for you. Would your IT guy make a good CEO?
I can't comment. We work
Skip
together
Parker?
and...
Skip Parker for CEO? Eh? Huh?
Yes, of course he would. He's probably watching right now.
If the stream goes offline, you'll know the answer to that question.
Do get in touch, 8168 with the keyword REMA. Yeah, interesting that they said that it's typical now to turn to, I guess not specifically the head of IT, but internally to that person.
Yeah, so normally the chief financial officer. I don't know. Interesting to see. I mean, I suppose it'll come down to communication skills and how they can problem solve for the future too. It's been a tough time to have an airline. I think historically, though, it is also very difficult to keep any airline afloat long term. Air New Zealand's had its issues throughout the years and, government bailouts at different times. So will it be much different for this guy? He has said, I'm both thrilled and humbled to be given this opportunity to lead Air New Zealand. The airline is an institution with a deep legacy, but also a fantastic future. It's a privilege to step into the CEO role and take on that responsibility for our people, our customers, and our country. So if nothing else, he's mastered corporate blah,
speech.
blah. I was going to say something else that's a bit stronger, but I can't say it on Rema.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Let's then take a look overseas. This is something else we love to do besides just sticking within New Zealand and looking at the search terms that are the most popular here. We like to take a look at our major news services around the world. And for this one, we're heading to CNN. This is the number 4 most popular story on their news service over the last week.
Yeah, now we're going to focus on story number 4 on CNN because you'll note that the story that was number 1 is going to come later. It was number 1 a lot of places. Don't you worry, we will be talking about it. If you think you know what it is, feel free to get in touch. A quick reminder, we are live streaming at the moment, trending a little bit different. If you want to find the live stream, rema.co.nz, click on either the YouTube or Facebook links. But Andrew, we've also talked about how this is not the first episode of Trending, even though it feels like it is. First time on a Friday.
Yeah, that's right. First time between 9 and 10.
Would have been a little bit strange to have a Trending episode without mention of one Donald Trump.
Correct. You can't avoid him. He's absolutely everywhere.
It is unavoidable.
It is his knack. That is his skill. I mean, maybe even, Nikhil Ravishankar could learn from Donald Trump about how to keep yourself in the headlines because, well, he's in the headlines. They say no news is bad news. The weird thing with this story, and we'll let you off the hook and tell you that the headline itself is Epstein poached young woman who worked at Mar-a-Lago. This is something that has been attributed to Donald Trump and his involvement or otherwise with Jeffrey Epstein, the former quote-unquote financier who actually turned out to be a sex trafficking monster. People trying to pin connections on Jeffrey Epstein, and remarkable to see how the story shifted around through time as well. Who's responsible here? It was a big part of the Donald Trump campaign, and then even Pam Bondi, who took over at the Department of Justice, saying that she had the file. She had the file. She had the client list in front of her that she was going to share with everybody who the clients of Jeffrey Epstein were. Then, in recent times, we've discovered that no, in fact, there was no client list, so I don't know what she had on her desk. but apparently there's no list, and then that's all fine, which of course passed the ball back to political opponents then saying, well, obviously that means Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of these clients of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why they don't want to tell you about it.
Yeah, and then there was a strange birthday card letter.
Yeah.
And then also recently, Donald Trump made a trip to Scotland. And it seems that he was hoping maybe to leave these questions behind, less Jeffrey Epstein brought up by people in Scotland surely wouldn't care. No, it followed him there as well.
Yeah, so let's take a look then at this story from CNN. It was the number 4 on their news site over the last week. Donald Trump, Epstein, poached young women who worked at Mar-a-Lago.
One of Epstein's most prominent accusers, giving new details tonight as to why his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein ended.
He took people, and because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
So this is Donald Trump sharing some thoughts apparently while on Air Force One and talking about how the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein broke down, as brought to us by the CNN report.
Trump was then asked if one of those people that Epstein stole from him was an underage girl at the core of the Epstein case, Virginia Giuffre. She was one of the most outspoken Epstein accusers, and she worked at the spa at Trump's Mar-a-Lago before Epstein hired her.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people, yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
Magnesium.
So that's the story from CNN, and people eager to know how much he knew and how much he didn't know. And I mean, amazing, isn't it, to be reflecting on the stories. And by the way, we didn't do anything wrong. She liked us. It was all Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't like him. I never liked him. We were never friends. I loved how we went from not sure to being certain in the same question. It's like, did this have anything to do with Virginia Giuffre? Oh, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. Yes, absolutely. Yes, he took her, and so on and so forth. It's a story that won't go away.
No.
And people won't accept the fact that there is no client list and no further investigation to be performed. I'll say from my perspective, however many thousands of kilometers away from this whole thing, it does really fail the sniff test to believe that all this happened and like, but we did everything we could and there's nothing more to say and it's all fine. So can we just forget about it and move on?
Yeah, it's interesting. Will this be the downfall of Donald Trump? He's faced many scandals before.
No.
I do find it potentially ironic that he comments the thing that ended his relationship with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't anything to do with the rather criminal and just abhorrent activities that he was participating in, but it was that he was stealing staff from Donald, and that's
a bridge too far.
Forget the other things, but that's
the one where I draw the line. Yeah, well, of course, you've also got plausible deniability, don't you? You can't claim to have known about what was going on there, and everybody always comes out as being shocked when these kind of things. I had no idea. I mean, clearly, I had friends who were visiting him all the time, and these plane loads of women who were being shipped around the world. But I just thought he was being nice and giving them free trips to an island that was completely off surveillance in the middle of the ocean somewhere. Yeah, pretty distasteful story. It continues, and well, this is why we do trending, isn't it? To give you an insight into what stories people have been most interested in. This is one that certainly won't go away. It was number 4 on CNN. Donald Trump talking about Epstein poaching young women who worked at Mar-a-Lago. Let's return back to New Zealand for this next one.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
For all the children of the 80s, skipping ahead now to number 3 in the search terms, and one that was also very popular in the international news services, one Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, now this is an interesting one because there's a lot of conversation around Hulk Hogan and his passing, but also his conversion and his story of coming to faith before his passing, and certainly celebrating that moment of baptism and testimony and accepting Jesus.
There is something that I think sometimes as much as I do not want to encourage cynicism, we need to be a little bit careful about in the faith community, because we did discuss this earlier with one of the stories that I think was number 18, Ozzy Osbourne, and whether or not he had a literal come to Jesus kind of moment. I think generally within the faith community, we want to believe that for a lot of people. It comes from the best of intentions. But these stories were also being circulated about Hulk Hogan, whether or not he had in fact come to faith and been baptized. Well, I can say in this particular case, we can confirm it. If you are on the live stream right now, I'm just showing a feed taken from his Instagram page, pictures of him being baptized at Indian Rocks Church.
Yeah, there's been a lot of celebration for this moment, but also maybe a little bit of that cynicism that you shared, Andrew, whether or not this was a moment that was personal and a choice of his own, or whether or not it was motivated by being seen to make this choice. Certainly a conversation within faith communities, within Christendom, that has a multitude of opinions.
You know what this makes me think of? Kanye West.
Ooh.
Do you remember this a little while back? And for those of you who've maybe been around the block a few times in your faith journeys with various notable people becoming Christians or having spiritual experiences that they then start sharing and knowing what to do about it. Like when we find a person who is secular famous, shall we say, we might have our own type of celebrities within church culture who we all know about, but when somebody out there is, say, quote unquote secular famous, I mean, I remember, for example, when Justin Bieber emerged and we started to find, he's a Christian. Oh, does that mean, like, what does that mean? And you know, Kanye West, though, being the one in more recent memory that when he first started talking about faith, and then, you know, he even released a gospel album, and we were talking about, well, what do we do with all this? He could probably be the ultimate cautionary tale about jumping on bandwagons when somebody's had a come to faith moment.
Yeah, for sure. But then there is also, and I noted that we actually had this as the verse of the day recently, everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And simply put, if that was Hulk Hogan's testimony before he passed, and I hope that is the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't say those who have done all of there's no prerequisite there. There's no moment of, you have to have lived at least a year or so as a good Christian before then you come to faith. And even if we talked about whether or not there was a real conversion moment for Ozzy Osbourne, as that was just something that was being brought up by you getting in touch. Thank you for, of course, your comments. But yeah, even Ozzy Osbourne, if that was a decision that he made and knowing his history, as it says there in Scripture, everybody who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved.
Yeah, and when we talk about being saved as well, I think we can often make it a more mystical thing than it really is in terms of how willing God is to take you where you're at. And, you know, did they, quote unquote, get saved the right way? Did they say the magic words? Did they, or whatever? And so, I mean, personally, I've always looked at this as the moment that you just acknowledge that you want to have that relationship with God, that you know He's taken that step to give His life on your behalf. That's what getting saved is, right? As opposed to, but did they really understand what they were doing? And did they really get saved and all this kind of stuff? You know, your life will ultimately show you the testimony of that, but it's very hard to make that judgment at the time. So we'd love to know maybe how you respond to these sorts of things too when you hear the headlines about famous people, whether or not they've embraced faith in general or Christianity in particular. And is there a wisdom in how we should respond to these? But in the meantime, we can tell you that number 3 in New Zealand in your search terms was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, get in touch, by the way, with your opinion. Either leave a comment below if you're watching the stream. You can find it at rema.co.nz. Click on either the YouTube or Facebook link. Or, of course, text 8168 with the keyword Rema, which is what Michelle has done. Bit of a meaty one here for you, Andrew, but interested to know what your opinion may be. She says, Kia ora. I heard chat about Michael Hill. In the 1990s, I was told by my youth leaders never to buy jewelry from Michael Hill as he is a devil worshipper, etc. We discussed this for years and taught my kids never to buy from Michael Hill. You spoke also of his character, and now talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He's a bad man, but the difference was he got caught, cameras, paper trail, etc.
Interesting. I mean, look, the short version is, how do we know these things about Michael Hill are true or not? I've heard rumors about people go both ways. That on the one hand, you know, somebody's become a Christian and isn't that wonderful? But I've also heard the same thing. And look, I would just want to know where these things come from. If I'm being really honest with you, Michelle, I think if you do believe that somebody really has views that are counter to yours to this extent, then by all means, like, you don't have to do business with them, and that's probably a reasonable response. But I have a certain cynicism about these sorts of things, about whether or not somebody was a devil worship. I mean, goodness me, that's a pretty aggressive position to take on something. What are the sources for something like that? Those are the things that I'd be most concerned about.
Yeah, it is. It is important to question and to also maybe do your own research, as it were, but to live also in a space of fear is probably going to limit you quite drastically, and I don't think God is calling for us to live with a spirit of fear. In fact, I know for certain he is not. But yeah, maybe the comparison to Jeffrey Epstein, the question there is, of course, there was the evidence that has arisen, and then the reactions now justified?
Oh, to Jeffrey, absolutely. But to Michael Hill, yeah, look, that's. I would want to know what my sources were for something like that, as opposed to somebody told me. That's my take on that. Maybe you agree or disagree. The show is about your thoughts and comments as well today. To steal a line from Andrew Urquhart.
Hold on.
Wait a second. What I mean to say is this is trending, and it's in no way similar to Andrew Urquhart's show at all. But thank you for joining us on the stream. If you do have some thoughts on the stories we've shared so far, we've still got a room for a few more, but feel free to chime in on the chat or via the text today.
8168 with the keyword Rema. That's how you text. Or, of course, if you are watching on the stream, which you can find at rema.co.nz for both YouTube and Facebook, leave a comment below.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
On now to entertainment news. And this one, the number 2 story in the country. Also something that was many years in the making. Happy Gilmore 2.
Okay, now I've noticed something.
Go.
Quite often, when we get to an entertainment story, it is a sequel, and both you and I and many people within my circles at least have mused, another sequel, another follow-up, where's the original content, blah, blah, blah. But then again, I also find myself going, when they say we're going to make a second one of these, I go, ooh, I'm excited. So I'm realizing, are we actually just kind of the snake eating its own tail in this regards? We kind of want this, but then we go, but it's just another sequel.
You know what's great? In psychology, there's this terminology called the difference between a stated preference and a revealed preference.
Okay.
So in other words, people will say one thing, but then what does their behavior show? It's a complicated thing of saying, again, actions matter more than words. So we say we don't want another boring retreaded sequel, and then Happy Gilmore 2 debuts to 46.7 million views, the biggest Netflix US film opening ever. How much do we really want new content? I would say not that much.
Yeah. Well, look, we liked the original. It was popular for a reason, and now we're quite excited to see the sequel.
How many years ago was the original?
Oh, gosh. I can do a quick Google.
I feel like it was at least 20.
Happy Gilmore.
Live Googling. That's why people tune in for this show.
1996.
1996, so 19 years ago. Wait, no, hang on. 96, that's 20...
Look.
29 years?
Over 20 years ago.
25, 30... In my mind, 1990 is still only 10 years ago.
Don't do this.
So everybody who agrees, let us know in the chat this morning. 46.7 million views, though. For those who aren't familiar, Happy Gilmore, the original film, was about a kid who saw himself as a hockey player but didn't quite have the chops. What he did have was a powerful slap shot that he was able to translate into golfing prowess. So there were some universal themes about it. I actually saw a really cool review of Happy Gilmore 2 by Jeremy Jahns, who has this YouTube channel. He does a lot of these kind of things. But he talked about how the first film, he could understand why it was so popular, because although it was a bit of a comedy and obviously there was some exaggerated elements in there, the themes in it of a young man trying to find his place in the world and trying to find an area where he could develop his skills and then still obviously had room to grow as a person. Like, there's some universal themes and all that kind of stuff. This one, though, has a much darker tone, especially in the beginning.
It does indeed. Yeah, it was only released on Netflix as well, but still doing quite well. I'd also say, I note of the first Happy Gilmore that it also had this theme of breaking into this culture or society that seemed to be elevated above the rest, and Happy and then the people subsequently that he brought through. There was this acceptance of all people can enjoy this thing. It is not elite and only for those who maybe have a certain amount of money or etc.
Which is why we see people of all ages and stages on the golf courses now, right? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
Okay, we've got some comments coming through about Hulk Hogan and
let's
Michael
go.
Hill. This has sparked a little bit of conversation. So, Felicity says, obviously, as a Christian, we hope these stories are true. Even when we hear nothing, we can hope people have a special moment before they die. We never know what happens in someone's heart, and it's not ours to say we know, but we can hope.
Great thought. Thank you for sending that through.
Daniel says, well, even if Michael Hill was, do we really want to assume that all the jewelry sold by him was evil? Question mark. He also leaves a bruh after that.
Bruh.
And Felicity also follows up with another comment. I'm pretty sure that story about Michael Hill was a rumor started by his competitors. It was debunked on the news about 6 decades ago.
6 decades ago. Goodness me.
Oh, and hold on. On the news at 6
decades ago.
Decades ago.
Because he would have only been 25 or
yeah,
something.
I was wondering. Punctuation,
How
but
does the
that's
math
okay. I
work on that?
don't blame you, Felicity.
Divide by 3, carry the one. I mean, look, there is a wider discussion here about who you deal with in the world and whether or not people's morals align with yours and therefore should you do business with them. I remember, I don't know why this is the particular one that comes to mind. You remember there was this whole discussion about whether or not you should do business with Vodafone? Because they had this staff party where apparently there was some rather dubious goings on and people were wondering, what this said about the cultural values within that company and therefore should a Christian have a phone on Vodafone? You could rapidly run out of utility services or indeed ways to feed your family or put fuel in your car if you follow that line along. I suppose it really comes down to a personal conviction, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's if you only dealt with companies that were Christian, and then even then, let's be honest, sadly, you can identify as, but then your behavior may not necessarily measure up with.
Okay, going now to a text that came through from Angela. Michael Hill just Googled. He was a practicing Satanist, self-admitted.
What?
Apparently. But this is according to her text that has come through. Because it's interesting now, Andrew, because we said, do your research.
Yeah.
Which is now admittedly what Angela has done. She's gone to Google, and then my skepticism would say, well, of course, you can find whatever you want on Google, but I've just told you to do your research, which is what has indeed happened. So I think, is there also an attachment usually to a more sinister or evil motivation when we talk about jewelry?
Yeah.
Rather than something, as you say, like Vodafone, a necessity, not that I guess our phones, we require them, but it's much more of a staple, whereas jewelry again, and maybe even connecting back to Happy Gilmore, kind of seems like this, it is for a particular sect of society.
Nah, because I feel like, look, here's the thing. I reckon there's about a certain percentage of New Zealand, and I'm going to say it's as high as like, say, 25%, whose engagement rings all came from Michael Hill.
Yeah.
Right? Who hasn't got something from Michael Hill at once in their life? Like, surely. Earrings for your mum, something like that. I'm interested to know, too, like, where this admission was. Although I'm prepared to acknowledge, if that's something he said, but, like, self-confessed, what did he get up and say? Hi, Michael Hill, Satanist. I don't know.
Jeweler, Satanist.
This is why people watch this show.
Trending with Andrew Curtis.
We only got a little bit of time left, so before we go, man, we'll get in trouble for that one. Why don't we take a look at the number one trending news story?
Oh, no.
Someone's got to use AI to make that ad. The state of it.
This is our first time on a Friday.
We're doing so well.
We just got a promotion.
3 minutes to go.
There's so many people
show.
tuning in for the first time, watching on the stream. Yep. Welcome to Trending.
Woo! Anyway, number one, if you have a phone, you know all about this. Russian earthquake, baby, was your number one.
Yeah, well, look, were you awoken at 2:30?
No.
Okay.
Mercifully not. Did you get the early morning ones as well?
No, I didn't. My co-host on the Avo Bravo did. And I just wondered also, again, was I not selected for the that particular,
not part of the elite.
The priority, as it were. Again, there's a theme emerging as we get towards the end of Trending.
Well, there were some issues, by the way, with the mobile phone alerts, which meant some people received multiple updates about all this kind of stuff. It does feel like the extreme end of this hypervigilance we've had ever since the flooding event a few years ago, right? Because a Russian tsunami, maybe I'm far too laissez-faire about this kind of stuff, but I struggle to see how this is going to make a massive difference in New Zealand.
I did see a comedian say, because we are so far removed in New Zealand, others might have received that alert and went, okay, need to make my way to safety.
Sure. Yep.
We went, okay, Gonna go home, might go to the beach tomorrow, see my grandma. Then maybe I'll think about getting to safety because I'm in New Zealand and it's going to take a little while before anything is going to happen here.
So there you have it. That was the number one story. That was the thing that everybody was looking for more information about this week. And that brings us to the end of our first ever trending between 9 and 10. So thank you for joining us. Did you enjoy the show today? Do feel free to send through a comment as we march on with the rest of our morning. We'll be back again next week between 9 and 10. Taking a look at the news stories that Aotearoa has been searching for. Great to have your company. Great to see those comments come through. Join us again next Friday. Alrighty. Well, for those of you who are on the live stream, just want to say another massive thank you to you. We can't quite do the same level of post show that we used to. We're going to try and figure this one out with Andrew Urquhart and see when he needs to kind of come into the studio, what he can organise ahead of time just to buy himself a few minutes. That was quite a wild one.
My goodness, it's been wonderful being on a Friday because, we are seeing a little bit more engagement come through via both the text and the Facebook page, and particularly thank you to you who are now here on the stream. This is a new element of the show. A lot of new people watching for the first time, a lot of old heads as well. But, great to have your comments. That really is the whole crux of trending.
I still want to try and find out more about this Michael Hill thing, though.
Oh, mate, look, we can...
Because I have Googled Michael Hill, and I Googled Michael Hill Satanist admission. This I'm struggling to find what the source for this one is. He talks about meditation in an article from 2015. Talks about playing the violin.
Oh,
let me just scroll
the violin.
Yeah, well, as we all know, I mean, it does sound like sometimes it's a tool of the devil, but that's only in
depends who's
in
playing.
amateur hands. Look, man, I'm not seeing good. What if I just go Michael Hill Satanist? What if I just do that? What a wild thing to be searching for on a Friday.
Do you think we talked about Skip on this show? He may have a question for you as to why you're Googling Satanists on the work computers.
No, just don't explain it. Don't explain it. Just leave it hanging. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not seeing the. If you got a link, like got the actual link article or whatever it is, then let me know. But there is a professor from Victoria University who has researched the satanic scare, who is also called Michael Hill.
Ooh, okay.
So it could be a separate Michael Hill.
By the way, we are no longer officially on air, so you're welcomed into the post show of Trending. We'll wrap up fairly soon before Andrew Urquhart needs to get in to use the Rema studio. But thank you once again for joining us. But maybe the wrong Michael Hill.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah. I'm not seeing it. I can only imagine the rabbit hole of Google searches I'll have to go down, though, if I start looking for this. Here's the real question.
Yep.
What ads will I start getting?
No, targeted ads.
Targeted ads is like, are you looking for Satanists in your area? I'm like, whoa.
I imagine you'll get Church of Scientology ads.
Ooh, get wrecked. Do you want to do a personality profile?
No.
No? You don't want to do that?
No, I do not.
Okay, what else was interesting today? Kind of cool to see the Hulk Hogan story was true, at least about the baptism side of stuff from him. So that was interesting. It is a really cool, wider conversation, though, isn't it, about like people coming to faith in the public eye?
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of we could do a whole episode of Trending just on that one story.
Yeah.
And delving into all of the different conversations to be had. And I think what Felicity had to say was probably our best choice as Christians is to not just kind of willy-nilly be like, we welcome everybody with open arms, but we have hope and definitely assurance that if that choice is true, that's in God's hands.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's very true. And people do things on their own timelines as well, right? So we always pray for the best with people, and cool thought. Love to see that kind of stuff come through while we're doing the show. What else stood out today? I mean, again, the Ozzy Osbourne funeral thing's weird as. But that's interesting reflection of celebrity and culture, right? That at your death, your family will be trotted out in front of a crowd of people to watch you grieve. And then, Sharon was doing the old, rocker kind of hand gesture to the crowd as well, which is like, cool. As I mentioned last week around too, maybe people will have different takes on this as well, but I always just thought it kind of amusing. His moniker as, being the Prince of Darkness. The Prince of Darkness. I'm the Prince of Darkness, love. Nevertheless, Andrew Urquhart is hovering outside the door, so we're going to get on out of here. But thank you for joining us for today. We will catch you next time. God bless, and you're amazing.